Continuing with the review for Unit 3, Math 1. Number 19 says, a club sold hamburgers and hot dogs. They raised $240. They want us to write an equation of how many we could sell. And what are 3 combinations of hot dogs and hamburgers you could buy for $240? So what they're saying is, if I figure this out, the equation looks like this. It's 3 times the number of hamburgers, plus 250 times the number of hot dogs, and it equals 240. Okay, that's the equation, right? I would just figure this out, and I really can do this without graphing. But if I wanted to graph this thing, I'm going to go ahead and solve for y, and what I'm going to get is y equals negative 3x plus 240, 2.5. And so then if I divide by 2.5, it just gets kind of ugly here. And I can get some decimals on this, but I really don't want to do it that way. So what I think the best way to do this is I'm just going to pick some points. So I'm going to go back to this one right here. Okay? And I'm going to come up with combinations here. I'm going to run it. So this says 3. I'm just going to do 2, but the process is exactly the same. So all you got to do is just plug in and guess a number. So what happens if I sold, say, 5 hot dogs? Okay, or hamburgers, 5 hamburgers. All right. So in this case, I'm just going to work out for the y. So that's 15 plus 2.5y equals 240. Okay. And then I'll subtract 15, right? That gives me 2.5y equals 225. Then I'll divide that, 225 by 2.5, and that's 90. So y equals 90. Okay. So one scenario is I could sell 5 hamburgers and 90 hot dogs, right, by simply plugging an input. Okay. Well, let's try one more here. I'll try to squeeze it like this. And so that's a point that I would eventually graph. And then I'm going to try, let's say, 20 hamburgers. And I could also plug in for hot dogs as well. And then I could get 60 plus 2.5y equals 240. Subtract 60 to both sides. And that's 2.5y equals 180. Then I'll divide that out. 180 divided by 2.5. And y equals 72. Kind of running out of room here, but so I also have the point of 2072. Okay. So here's, if I plotted these 2 points, right, I could come up with a graph. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these worth, down here I'll make these worth, see, I got to get up to 20, so I'll make them worth 2s, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Here I'll make these worth 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. So I have the point 5, which is halfway through here, 90. Right? I have 20, 72. Which is, you know, so it's going to look something like this. All right? And it represents the general relationship. Okay. All right, moving on to the next one, 20. In each of the following linear functions explain. Is it a linear function? And the answer is, so that's a no, that's a yes, that's a no, and that's a yes. So how do we tell the difference? We look at the x value. If the x has a power of 1, right, so these have powers of 1s, it is linear. That's the reason. So this one had a cube, and this had an absolute value. So if you see a 1 on it, okay, or there's really nothing there, you just see, you know, an x, that's linear. And 21, it says find an equation that goes through those points, write it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to go ahead and find the slope first. I'm going to plug it into point-slope form, and then from there go to slope-intercept form. So we're going to say the slope is going to be 13 minus 5 all over 6 minus 3 using my slope formula. So that's 6 over 2. So my slope is 3. My slope is 3. Okay. And now I need to pick a point, and there, this one's a little smaller, so I'll pick that one. So I'm going to plug it into point-slope form. All right. I'm going to solve for y. Distribute over here. Y equals 3x minus 4. And there is my answer right there.